Part 5. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 41. Marrying a wife was very casual in the past, and you could marry many wives, just like buying vegetables at the wet market, as long as you are pleasing to the eye, as long as you are rich. Confucius said in Book of Rites, being rich and noble by nature means being rich and noble by doing. Therefore, some people think that if a person is rich and does not buy one or two concubines for his own entertainment, he is already rich and lives in poverty. The king's way is based on human feelings, so how can he use this to correct himself and be frugal? In today's terms, if you are rich and powerful and don't find more women, then you are a bitch and hypocritical. The concubine mentioned here is still a little different from the current wife. The status of girls now is different from before. Lu Chang'an will be criticized by Zhou Dongdong if he eats a dog. If you still say successfully rich and noble, okay, wealth and honor, he probably has to learn the ability to do what he says, and it will definitely be too late to wipe it out. If An Nuan listened, she would probably jump on his back and start making trouble again. Lu Chang'an returned to the classroom and found Bai Hui standing in the corridor. It was rare that Jian Ning and Lu Yuan were not around because she and An Nuan were talking together. The tallest girl in the class was wearing black calf-skin shoes with wedge heels, which were enough for her to wear. Most boys are ashamed of themselves. An Nuan should be very beautiful in high heels, preferably white half socks, with square heels, not pointed and thin ones. There must be an eye-catching brilliance between the skirt and half socks. Lu Chang'an, I remembered Zhu Huntang's dress that I saw that night. You actually have such a beautiful cousin. And Nuan even said that she had never heard of you mentioning it. Bai Hui seemed to be looking at Lu Chang'an again. I heard a female teacher talking about it. Your cousin's watch seems to be called Fan Kea. That model, it's 800,000. Bai Hui's cheeks are a bit fleshy and cute, and there is still an incredible exaggerated expression on her face. Her mouth is round, her eyes are round, and her chest is jumping up and down, which reminds Lu Chang'an of 8 possible this phrase. He would not use such words to describe a beautiful girl, so he smiled and said, "Hello, Cheapo." Cheapo, Bai Hui was confused. And Nuan understood Lu Chang'an better and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Bai Hui looked at An Nuan and then at Lu Chang'an, feeling that this was not a nice thing to say, but he was kept in the dark like a fool. He looked a little confused and glared at Lu Chang'an before going back to the classroom. An Nuan tilted her head and secretly watched Bai Hui enter the classroom, and then whispered, "I'm just curious, why do you call me a little bitch? 2 people get together, and so do you. My former deskmate and my current deskmate offended each other. Look at how we will talk about you behind your back in the future. Come, let me show you something good." Lu Chang'an waved. "What?" An Nuan looked left and right, then looked back at the classroom, and found Bai Hui looking over here. She raised her hands, stretched, and followed Lu Chang'an's accustomed pace and walked slowly to his side. Lu Chang'an was sitting on the tennis table in front of the classroom. There was also a black woven backpack on it. He didn't know who it belonged to. A comic magazine cover leaked out of his pocket. It depicts a beautiful Japanese anime girl. The eyes that covered half of his face, the tall and straight legs that looked like tender and dripping bamboo shoots with peeled brown skin, and the slender waist like willow branches drawing water from the river bank, were actually like the An Nuan figure in front of him. We may be able to face the laws of mankind bravely, but we cannot resist the laws of nature. Lu Chang'an looked at An Nuan and said seriously. Lu Chang'an rarely tries to convince someone. If he decides to do so, he will usually quote the scriptures seriously. Because classics often contain profound and correct truths. Girls can be reasonable, right? An Nuan frowned slightly and was stunned for a moment. In 1870, Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is another great work after Journey to the Center of the Earth. From the center of the earth to the bottom of the sea, Verne's works allowed future generations to gradually expand the field of exploration of science fiction works from the Earth to the broader universe. What about your endorsement? The point is what I said. What are the human laws that you and Bai Hui face together? Lu Chang'an continued to reason. And Nuan already felt that something was wrong. She specifically singled out Bai Fen. What are the characteristics of Bai Fen? Of course, my first impression is that of a well-developed female high school student. I have nothing in common with her in this regard, right? And Nuan nodded and said happily, classmate Lu Chang'an, you are provoking me again. No, Lu Chang'an denied, I'm just reasoning with you. You and Bai Hui are both girls, and the current human law is that the development of secondary sexual characteristics of girls is of great concern. The irresistible law of nature is, males therefore believe that females with better developed secondary sexual characteristics are more suitable to pursue as mates. Therefore, females are irresistibly required to deal with this natural law. And Nuan's eyes were as big as the beautiful anime girl on the cover. Last time, your qi and blood stagnation caused. I put a sponge cushion on it, and Nuan huffed. Is this okay? Lu Chang'an seemed surprised that such a simple measure could match the method he had worked out all morning. And Nuan reached out angrily and was about to push Lu Chang'an off the tennis table. Not far away, Huang Shan came over and pointed hard. And Nuan did not continue to provoke Huang Shan, because Huang Shan liked to report to his mother and himself when everything was fine. Some news about Lu Chang'an, this is normal. And Nuan can understand that for a beauty like her mother, men like to take credit in front of her. I don't think using a sponge mat is the best way. It's hot and it won't look good if you cover up prickly heat. Lu Chang'an thought for a moment and handed Nuan a few pages he tore out from his notebook. And Nuan was watching Huang Shan walk around the corner, and was about to push Lu Chang'an down. He took it and opened it, and his cheeks suddenly turned red. I'll bite you to death later, and Nuan bit her lips, and the blush on her face bloomed as brightly as the farewell flowers blooming at this time. The face of the undressed man Lu Chang'an drew was not careful. Portrait, but why does this figure look like it was copied from her model? Just practice it, it will definitely work. Lu Chang'an looked forward to it seriously. I have been painting all morning. But what if I don't know how? The shyness on Nuan's cheeks is still pretty, but there is a charming smile in the corner of her eyes. Do you want you to teach me? Let me see. I miss you, big-headed ghost. Lu Chang'an, I'll beat you up. After school in the afternoon, Lu Chang'an walked the fastest because Nuan had been causing trouble for him all afternoon. From his understanding, if he went to the gym to watch her practice, she would keep hitting him with volleyballs. When he reached the end of the bridge, the warm wind caressed his face. Lu Chang'an's pace slowed down. Looking into the distance, the huge statue of the great man was still in the posture of a guardian, gazing deeply at the mountain road in the distance, the nearby city, and the land under his feet. When I saw Qinyanan today, I would inevitably think of Yesijin. It seemed difficult for Lu Chang'an to separate these two people. Standing here, Lu Chang'an's memories and emotions began to tumble again. Sorry, the update was wrong at noon today, and the content of chapter 40 was missed. In addition to this chapter today, Monday, there will be another chapter at noon, and another chapter at around 8 o'clock in the evening. Of course, there will also be a chapter at midnight on Tuesday. The next chapter is not bland. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 42. Official records. Before the complete victory of the anti-Japanese war in 1945, Yesijin led a team on a mission to rescue comrades imprisoned by the RB people. During the mission, they encountered an unexpected and crazy Japanese counterattack. Yesijin died, the mission failed, and the imprisoned comrades disappeared. Lu Chang'an remembered that Yesijin's favorite food was the noodles with green onion and lard that he made. The place she wanted to go the most was Zhangzhou in Junsha. She told him that after a complete victory, she must fight with those who are still alive. Comrades, let's recite a song Qin Yuan Shan together there. Their generous singing is of course different from any interpretation performed by anyone in later generations. It is different in its ferocity and passion. Yasijin has been looking forward to it. Countless romantic figures will eventually pass away, leaving only Lu Chang'an to witness everything for them. He and the statue maintain the same angle and look at each other, as if they are caring for their comrades who have fought bloody battles together in the past, close, unknown, and nameless. Those heroic souls without surnames are watching the new world they created. In the future, every household's jar will be filled with rice and flour. There must be meat to eat during the holidays. People will never be bullied again. By then, everyone will be able to live a good life. Lu Chang'an has been to the capital and seen the monument erected by Wei Ang. Over the past 3 years, the people's heroes who sacrificed their lives in the People's Liberation War and the People's Revolution will be immortalized forever. Over the past 30 years, the people's heroes who sacrificed their lives in the People's Liberation War and the People's Revolution will remain immortal. This dates back to 1840. Since then, in order to fight for national independence and people's freedom and happiness against internal and external enemies, the people's heroes who have sacrificed their lives in various struggles will be immortalized. Even Lu Chang'an would rather live in a peaceful era. These gentle and peaceful days are lively and cheerful, just like a girl. He is immortal and has never been a saint. He has no way of treating the common people as idiots. Lu Chang'an always lives in the current world and is always willing to do something for this nation and this country when his survival is at stake. Lu Chang'an believes that he is just a person after all. He is just a person who has lived longer, and has never thought about looking at everything from an indifferent perspective. It seems that since Lu Chang'an first joined the army more than 2,000 years ago, and when foreign enemies invaded for countless years, the countless struggles forged with blood have declared one sentence: where the enemy can go, I can go too. I just can't give in. Did Lu Che really say that? I have no idea, but he did it and did it. No matter how long he lives, he still feels that the history since the birth of human civilization has made his life more blood-warming. So many years have passed, and Lu Chang'an's memories of today are a bit distant. He raised his head and looked at the sky, always feeling that there was some ancient charm hanging over the less transparent city, awakening his sleeping memories. So Lu Chang'an bought another pullet at the vegetable market. The pullet has white feathers, a shallow comb, and is light pink in color, like a girl's lips. The feather tentacles are warm and plump, and the hair under the wings is as fine as down. Lu Chang'an remembered that in addition to ducks, there were also literati in ancient times who liked to raise hens. There are many entertainment activities nowadays, but the ancients were more boring after all, and it is not surprising that they occasionally had perverted hobbies. The pullets bought at the vegetable market were cheaper, and it didn't feel so distressing to throw them in the carriage. However, he still stopped Zhou Dongdong from trying to lead the pullets with a rope to play. The pullets were about to die, and people would die. Have a good rest beforehand. Taking out the bottle from the carriage, the centipede was already lifeless. He squeezed it gently and could feel that the internal organs and muscles under the shell were already hard, so Lu Chang'an threw the little hen in again. 1 pullet per day is not a small number. He is so poor. Lu Chang'an did not sigh with emotion, he just saw the facts. Not to mention the life too far away, he had some savings more or less 100 years ago. Everything is external, except for the paintings, calligraphy, and other things left with me. They are gifts from close friends over the past thousands of years, and they always have some special commemorative meaning. During the war-torn years, considering his own plan, it was not easy to keep them, so he donated them all. For him, it was more important for these friends to pretend to remain in the world, and it didn't matter whether they belonged to him or not. Not everyone sees everything as dust in the future like him. Those magnificent people probably always have a desire to amaze future generations in their hearts. Lu Chang'an will also take care of their wishes when it is convenient and let them do it in time. More moving waves are left on the long river. As for the wealth and assets that can be easily circulated, it is natural to donate them to resist the invasion when the country is shattered. An old friend founded an industry and took a lot of silver dollar banknotes from Lu Chang'an and took them to Taiwan. Quite a number of people went there. A few years ago, a tomb that he had hidden in the Han Dynasty was dug out. The cave was filled with brilliant gold, and Lu Chang'an had no way to go there and claim ownership, even though he wanted the seal engraved with his name that was unearthed. Of Xiao Lu, you buy chicken every day. You need to recuperate before the college entrance examination. Mrs. Lu came over. The cheongsam you are wearing today is so cute, Lu Chang'an praised, picked up the red string that tied the little hen, made a flower and hung it on Mrs. Liu's hairpin, black and red, elegant and majestic. That's so naughty. You can get me a red flower now that I'm old. Mrs. Lu pulled off the red rope and threw it to him. She patted Lu Chang'an on the shoulder and said, "Do well in the exam and get into a good school. I'll give you a basket of eggs." Lu Chang'an agreed eagerly. Tomorrow is a holiday again. Lu Chang'an was thinking about whether to go to a second-hand bookstore to look for books tomorrow when he received a call from An Nuan. After school in the afternoon, An Nuan stayed in the school to practice volleyball. Ma Benwei sneaked into the school and broadcast live the daily training of An Nuan and the girls' volleyball team of the attached middle school. No one paid attention to him. Later, the school's physical education teacher found out and kicked him out of the school. Ma Benwei's Bentley was parked outside the school, and he was waiting for An Nuan while he was live broadcasting. The theme of the live broadcast was how to meet the internet celebrity volleyball girl from the affiliated middle school. The live broadcast room became extremely popular for a while. As a passerby, An Nuan's figure, appearance, and fame make people full of expectations and challenges. There are also some students from the attached middle school who are adding fuel to the fire in the live broadcast room. After An Nuan left school, she ignored Ma Benwei's chat and took a taxi home. Who knew that Ma Benwei actually followed An Nuan outside An Nuan's community and continued to send messages to An Nuan inviting her to come out to meet. An Nuan didn't take a taxi when she took a taxi. She chose to hide her mobile phone number without thinking too much. After all, she rarely used online car hailing, so the chance of encountering such a thing was not high. "I'll come over here," Lu Chang'an said. "No need, I just feel annoyed. I want to tell you not to come here and fight with others later. I won't allow you to fight." Ma Benwei and Chen Changzhou are different. Chen Changzhou is a student after all. Fights within the attached middle school are always mediated and managed by the school and will not affect the college entrance examination that is just around the corner. However, social figures like Ma Benwei have difficulty controlling it. This is the truth for An Nuan. What I want to understand is that when encountering this kind of thing, An Nuan still likes to tell him and wants to know his reaction. "It's all my fault for not walking to send you back." "Humph, it's good that you know. I don't allow you to come anyway. I forgive you this time. If you come, I will continue to be angry, 150 times. No. Don't deal with me. I've blocked his phone number. He can't keep it all the time." The college entrance examination will be held a few days after the Dragon Boat Festival, and there are only a few days left to go to school. "Okay, I'll see you off after school from now on." "Hee, that's pretty much it? Have you eaten yet?" "Nope." "Then you go eat and I'll take a shower." Lu Chang'an cooked the rice. He didn't buy rice today. He put extra potatoes and sweet potatoes in it and cooked it together. I picked up my mobile phone, searched for apps on several live broadcast platforms, and found Ma Benwei's live broadcast room. Ma Benwei is very popular and has a large number of live broadcast viewers, making him easy to find. Lu Chang'an usually does not like to watch live broadcasts, and he pays little attention to the anchor. Loneliness is a normal state of life. It is for everyone, and it is also for Lu Chang'an. But for most people, they can participate in noisy activities to relax when they are lonely. Probably most people feel empty and lonely when they are lonely. Are all handled in this way, or watching the live broadcast is very interesting. However, for Lu Chang'an, the lonely moments in life are just the quietness of one's soul, not an unbearable negative emotion. He silently watched Ma Benwei's live broadcast while walking towards the Orange Garden of Shonan University. His steps were faster than usual today. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 43. Compared with Hedong, which is developing rapidly, the foothills of the Hexi foothills were often called countryside by Juncha people 20 years ago. However, this is where schools from southern Hunan gather, and it has a different charm. Dense trees cover the roads, and pedestrians on the roads are crowded. The pace is slightly slower, and the young students are going back and forth between the dormitories of various major campuses, feeling the leisure and confusion of finally stepping out of the ivory tower. Different from the simplicity and repetition of new commercial residential areas, many residential areas located here are units of major schools. The gray and white tones and six-story buildings have no special sense of design, but are located in the shade of dense trees. Always gives people a particularly quiet and elegant feeling. There is nothing great about educated people, but if a bunch of educated people gather together to live together, after all, they still have a slightly bookish flavor. A spray truck drove by, and the steam was thick. Lu Chang'an put away his mobile phone and saw from a distance that Ma Shilong's Bentley looked particularly delicate after being covered with a layer of water mist. Lu Chang'an walked over, and Ma Benwei also saw Lu Chang'an. "Brother, your school doesn't have 500 flower guardians. You waited for a year before it was your turn last time. Why is it your turn to protect the flowers today?" It's such a fast turn. Ma Benwei suddenly felt happy, and then said to holding the mobile phone placed on the front of the car, he said, "Brothers in the team, have you seen that this is the flower protector when I met in Nuan last time? Today it is his turn to protect the flowers." Lu Chang'an looked at the live broadcast room displayed on the screen of his mobile phone. En Nuan had not responded. Ma Benwei was bored. Lu Chang'an's appearance undoubtedly brought a wave of comments that flooded the screen. Whatever he said, Lu Chang'an laughed. "The night is clear tonight, why don't we go to Lushan Mountain to enjoy the waning moon?" Ma Benwei was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing. He turned to his phone and said, "Brothers, this guy invited me to watch the moon. Ha ha ha. I'm afraid he's not gay. Son, be careful. Go, go, enjoy the flowers, the moon, and the chrysanthemums. That girl won't come out tonight, son, try your skills at flirting with gays." Ma Benwei was about to change his mobile phone to send a message to En Nuan. This girl is indeed attractive, but the most important thing for live broadcast is to have material. Girls nowadays are vain and reserved. He has already made it clear that it is a live broadcast and he wants to ask her out at this time. I'm afraid it's going to be difficult, but it's better to figure it out slowly after the live broadcast. As for the current live broadcast, playing with this boy will probably make the fans happy. Okay, let's go. I'll go to Lushan Mountain with you to enjoy the moon. Get in the car. Ma Benwei waved. Lu Chang'an got into the car, and while looking at himself and Ma Benwei displayed on his mobile phone, he said hello to the onlookers in the live broadcast room. "Hello everyone." Ma Benwei patted the steering wheel and laughed. This boy really had a brain problem, and he didn't even look at how others were mocking him on the screen. He was really big-hearted. Lushan is actually a hill of a few hundred meters, no different from most larger parks. It's just that the various cultural attractions are too famous. It's no problem to join a 5A scenic spot. If you have a heart to appreciate the humanities, it's better. It was worth visiting. Ma Benwei drove the car directly to the top of the mountain, and then he and Lu Chang'an came to the most open viewing platform on the top of Lushan Mountain. This is the best place to enjoy the night view of the entire Juncha. Looking up at the entire Juncha, only the Bailong Center in the city center shines brightly, even above the clouds. Appreciate the moon, enjoy the moon. Ma Benwei put the phone away, adjusted the angle, and looked up at the sky. Brother, this moon is not pretty even if it's just missing. To be honest, it's not as pretty as in Nuan's but, right? Lu Chang'an was still watching the live broadcast room. After hearing this, he took a few steps back, adjusted the positions of himself and Ma Benwei, and said, "En Nuan is good looking, but when a girl is most beautiful, it is not when she is willing to embroider the bed and lean on her face. Then, when the rotten prince, red-haired, smiles and spits at Tan Lang. Isn't that bad of you?" "What are you talking about?" Ma Benwei didn't understand and didn't feel bored. The boy was full of sourness at such a young age. "Well, it seems you didn't come with me to enjoy the moon. You still want to be a flower protector." Someone in the audience of the live broadcast room knew about it and explained to Ma Benwei that the sentence was written about the Queen of Zhou and Liu, and it described the seductive gesture of a woman towards a man when she was passionately in love. Well, in the past, when people talked about things, they often didn't go to a tea house, but chose a place with a suitable scenery to open their minds and not be affected by the narrow and cramped environment. Tea or wine, 3 or 2 plates of candied fruits, and then explain the truth clearly and distinguish right from wrong. Lu Chang'an said with a smile, "It's inappropriate for you to do this. Don't do it again. Since it's not something you and I want, everyone must be reasonable. To resolve disputes, right? Why don't I be reasonable?" Ma Benwei didn't have much patience anymore. He thought to himself, if 2 people are trying to be reasonable, who in the live broadcast room would be willing to watch it? How many people had to go out? Did everyone come into his live broadcast room just to watch someone talk about truth? The primary school students were all impatient. Ma Benwei had an idea and sneered, "What are you going to do? Come and beat me up." A fist was immediately stamped on Ma Benwei's cheek, and Ma Benwei screamed. Lu Chang'an, who was still being reasonable a moment ago, took action before he finished speaking. "Hello everyone, today Ma Benwei and I will perform a program called, If You Are Unreasonable, You Will Be Beaten. It is a story about a person who is unreasonable and has to be beaten. I don't understand it very well, but I am willing to cooperate with him." Lu Chang'an dragged Ma Benwei to the mobile phone and said expectantly, "Please start sending gifts. Does this platform have double-click 666 or something?" "Oh, no, just pay attention. The more gifts you use, the more gifts you will give. The more I hit." Ma Benwei punched, kicked, and fought fiercely, but he couldn't break free, but Lu Chang'an pinched him and put his face in front of the mobile phone. "Someone swiped the rockets," Lu Chang'an said to Ma Benwei in surprise. "Are you happy?" "I'm happy for you." Ma Benwei opened his mouth to curse, and Lu Chang'an slapped him in the face with a big slap, and said to the audience in the live broadcast room, "Thanks to my friend Long Wei, Hong Kong, and Phantom for the rocket. I will perform a series of over-the-shoulder for everyone fall." As he spoke, Lu Chang'an threw Ma Benwei over his shoulder and fell to the ground. Before Ma Benwei could finish screaming, he fell over and over again and again, spinning around on the platform. "Amazing. Brother, you've really practiced this. Ma Benwei won't be thrown to death by you, right? No way, this must be the effect of the show. Last time someone even performed a stew in an iron pot. Keep on, keep on. Get your gifts, get into the team, and hang up your badges. Get them for Brother Ma. Lu Chang'an looked at the live broadcast room and said to Ma Benwei, "Oh, I can't believe that I received a rocket on my first live broadcast. You see, how popular it is now, and your popularity has increased a lot." Ma Benwei was furious, and he couldn't figure out why. Lu Chang'an fell over his shoulder one after another. Although he was in pain all over, he felt that his body could bear it. At this moment, he just wanted to kill Lu Chang'an, but he was twisted like a little chicken. He even used the monkey to steal peaches, but this man was still indifferent. "Are you trying to reason with me now?" Lu Chang'an asked. "Speak. You must be talking about your father-in-law or something." Lu Chang'an slapped Ma Benwei in the face, stopping Ma Benwei from speaking. "Next, I will perform a big windmill for everyone." Lu Chang'an continued the live broadcast. "Do you want to know what the content is? Let's buy a wave of gifts first." Ma Benwei didn't know what a windmill was, but he hoped more than ever that he would not receive a gift. He quickly shouted, "Don't, call the police quickly." But no one took Ma Benwei's words seriously. He was thrown over his shoulder like this just now, and now he is still yelling with anger. There are no blood marks on his face, but his hair is a bit messy. What can happen? Seeing that he had collected a lot of gifts, Lu Chang'an twisted Ma Benwei's legs and swung the wheel up. He turned on tiptoe and sang, "Big windmill, whirling around, here's the windmill, the scenery is so beautiful." Ma Benwei was dizzy and frightened after being thrown away. He was afraid that if Lu Chang'an missed, he would be destroyed. He was even more frightened and angry. Why did he encounter such a monster? In some acrobatics and sports, it is common to swing a windmill with a partner like this, but it is basically a male partner throwing a female partner. He is a big man who weighs 100 or dozens of pounds. How did Lu Chang'an get the monster-like strength? Lu Chang'an didn't turn around for long before he put Ma Benwei down. Ma Benwei was dizzy, staggered and fell to the ground. He couldn't stand up anymore. He only felt his internal organs rolling, and he immediately vomited. Hello everyone, today's live broadcast ends here. The effects of the program are designed by professionals. Please do not imitate easily. Finally, if everyone is satisfied with what you have seen, please give me another wave of gifts. The right way is that sex cannot be indulged and anger cannot be retained. Don't speak irritatingly, and don't drink too much. Everyone must remember to be reasonable in daily life, and do everything in moderation. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he turned off the live broadcast. He was worried that Ma Benwei's mobile phone would be easily lost when it was placed on the front of the car, so he pulled out of the car with force. Put the phone in the window. Ma Benwei vomited beer and crayfish all over the floor. You're driving after drinking. Lu Chang'an shook his head. He was really unethical. Do you want me to help you find a driver? You. Ma Benwei wanted to tell him to get out, but he couldn't say a word and vomited again. Lu Chang'an walked down the mountain when his cell phone rang, and he realized that there were several missed calls, all from An Nuan, as well as messages from her. I was planning to update it at 8 p.m., but I updated it in advance. Please give me some recommendations or collections. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 44. When Lu Chang'an arrived at the foot of Lushan Mountain and followed An Nuanfa's location, it was already an hour later when he found a milk tea shop called Cha Da Da Da. The walls are whitewashed on the uneven bricks, there are wooden tables and chairs in 2s and 3s, plastic arabesques hanging from the ceiling, and students from nearby universities sitting in the corner using laptops to catch up on homework or papers. There is nothing special about this milk tea shop, except for the special warmth. When he entered the first year of high school, Lu Chang'an, who was living under a new identity, had some physical adaptation and adjustment conditions as usual. He fell down the stairs. People said that he was lost when he saw Bai Hui, but he helped him up at that time. It was Nuan who was there. When he opened his eyes in confusion, the panicked eyes on the beautiful face of the 16-year-old girl were staring at him. After thousands of years of wind and snow, walking in the world, it is the mentality of a young man to be in a trance. For Lu Chang'an, everyone from the beginning of his memory is nothing special. They are just lives born from the natural laws of this world, including himself. However, when these lives entered Lu Chang'an's life in the era when they were born, there are always some people who are special at that time. And Nuan was drinking orange juice. There was also a glass of orange juice on the seat opposite her. The edge of the glass was covered with water droplets, and the ice cubes inside had melted. It must have tasted a little watery. Sitting next to Nuan was her best friend Hans Hizzy. Professor Ling's daughter, who lived opposite Nuan's house, was facing Lu Chang'an with eyes and expressions that were slightly complimentary but gloating. When she was a freshman in high school, Hans Hizzy came to the affiliated middle school to play with Nuan. Hans Hizzy was in another high school, and her reputation and strength were as good as those of the affiliated middle school. Let me just say, it takes him half an hour to come down from Lushan Mountain. It takes him an hour, and Nuan chatted as usual. But when he came from home, he was not slow at all. Hans Hizzy's tone was ambiguous. Hans Hizzy doesn't have Nuan's appearance and figure, but she is still very cute. Basically, Lu Chang'an would use the word cute to describe women from birth to the time they are about to be buried. Lu Chang'an sat down and drank orange juice. He can catch the moon in the sky, and catch turtles in the 5 oceans. He is so powerful, Nuan said to Hans Hizzy. Hans Hizzy immediately showed an expression of admiration. The punch in the Nanshan nursing home and the kick in the Bihai kindergarten were also his heroic deeds. And Nuan was actually no longer in the mood to talk. It was impossible not to be moved. Lu Chang'an was usually calm and didn't care about anything, but when he met her and something happened, he never said a word. Such, friend, and Nuan is a little unwilling to do these things as a friend. The most important thing is that he might get into trouble if he does this. As a friend, of course he will be uneasy if he gets into trouble. Lu Chang'an was drinking orange juice as usual, enjoying life. And Nuan snatched his glass, took out the straw and put it in his own cup, and then handed his own to Lu Chang'an. After all, Hans Hizzy was here, so Nuan would be a little embarrassed to drink directly without changing the straw. Didn't I tell you not to come? Nuan glared at Lu Chang'an angrily. Although she tried to look angry, she couldn't help but the softness in her tone and eyes. Geo board is itchy, Lu Chang'an said in Juncha dialect. Hans Hizzy burst into laughter and fiddled with the hair on one side of her face with her fingers. Nuan couldn't help it anymore. She came around and hugged Lu Chang'an and shook her for a while. She liked and hated her at the same time, and said angrily, "I hate you. You are still doing a live broadcast." Hizzy laughed to death. "My orange juice." Lu Chang'an reached out and pressed Nuan's face to push her away. "Be quiet, others are doing homework." The girl who was using the computer in the corner returned her eyes to her computer screen. There are some things that really cannot be helped. The reality that must be faced is that if a girl has a normal face, she must get more for herself in other aspects. Who wouldn't want to have the capital to act like that tall beautiful girl and act like a coquettish girl? It's just that men still value their appearance. I confess, I betrayed you. Originally, I just wanted to see if Ma Shalong was still squatting outside during the live broadcast. I didn't expect to see you. I think you can enter the live broadcast world. Ma Shalong's Weibo and Nuan my Weibo is filled with comments and messages related to tonight's events. Hans Hizzy rolled her eyes at Nuan. Could she be more reserved? The two of you haven't even been together yet, but you've been feeding someone else's dog food. Are you beating someone on the live broadcast? Nuan sat back in her seat and said to Lu Chang'an, "You are not allowed to listen to her naughty ideas." He forced me. Lu Chang'an thought so. I wanted to reason with him, but he refused and had to let me beat him. I don't think he will let it go like this, and Nuan said worriedly. If he can squat on me, he can squat on you. As long as I don't squat on you, it'll be fine, Lu Chang'an said nonchalantly. Then I'd rather he continue to guard the outside of the school and community. He has no other choice anyway, and Nuan shook his head. Hans Hizzy looked at Nuan in confusion. Why did she drag her here to abuse the delicate little heart of a girl who didn't know the sweetness of love and had infinite longing for it? And Nuan looked at Hans Hizzy's eyes, blushed slightly, and winked at her. Hans Hizzy was very angry. He had just fed her a lot of dog food, and now he disliked her for being a light bulb. Hans Hizzy stood up with her bag and rolled her eyes at Nuan, who was of the opposite sex and inhumane. Why is she gone? Lu Chang'an's attention was diverted. Hans Hizzy's back was pretty good looking and she had a good figure, but she was not as tall and beautiful as Nuan. Be serious, Nuan said seriously. Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm on vacation these days. He can only block me after school starts. Based on today's experience, he will bring at least 5 people. And if he makes trouble at the entrance of the attached middle school, no matter what kind of yamen will cause trouble, so the method is probably to follow me to a place where things are easy to do, and then I will deal with them all. Lu Chang'an hesitated. I promise, I won't beat people live next time. You think you are invincible, and you still beat 5 of them. The more Lu Chang'an said, the more worried Nuan became. As for his little idea of trying to live broadcast, Nuan didn't bother to argue with him. Fortunately, he knew how to do that to her again. Will get angry. I wasn't that good before, but now I'm really good, Lu Chang'an said objectively. But you. What else? Nuan wanted to say. Lu Chang'an had already walked out of the milk tea shop. I'm not done yet. That's long-winded, I don't want to hear it anymore. Nuan caught up with Lu Chang'an at the entrance of Juyuan community, ran to him, grabbed his arm and put it on his shoulder, trying to throw him over his shoulder. But today Lu Chang'an didn't cooperate with her anymore. Nuan gritted her teeth and tried to make him angry to death. She hugged his waist and tried to throw him into the flower bed next to her. Please pay attention to your image. This is near your neighborhood. They are all acquaintances. Seeing her persistence, Lu Chang'an had no choice but to let her use her strength and finally push him down and sit down on the edge of the flower bed. Let her do whatever she wants. Please recommend, please add to the bookshelf. Sorry, I just realized today that the works I follow now are called adding to the bookshelf. In 10 years ago, it seemed to be called collection. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 45. Lu Chang'an kept holding the glass of orange juice he took out from the milk tea shop, and did not waste time knocking it over when he was pushed down. Seeing him slowly walking back with the glass of orange juice, Nuan felt happy and worried at the same time. The reason for her happiness is very simple. Lu Chang'an went to fight for her. In fact, girls like boys who can punch for them. This is one of the reasons why there are many little gangsters who are obviously good for nothing, but there is absolutely no shortage of women. Not every one of them girls always think about the long term. It's just that some girls will encourage their boyfriends to fight, and some girls are happy that their boyfriends will not only punch for them, but also worry about his safety. After all, this matter was caused by himself. Nuan didn't really feel that it was Lu Chang'an's fault. He still didn't worry about everything. What would he do when Ma Benwei really brought someone to find him? A rustling sound came from behind. Nuan turned around and was startled. She saw Lu Yuwang frowning and squeezing out of a hedge. He staggered to Nuan's side and twisted. Listening to Yuan's ears, everything I said to you has fallen on deaf ears, right? Mom, when did you squat there? Yuan's ears hurt and she quickly grabbed her arm. Humph, I came back from class and saw Hizzy hiding outside the milk tea shop and peeking furtively. After she left, I took a few fair looks and discovered the situation Lu Yuwang pinched in. Nuan's ears turned back. Tell me, I didn't hear what you were talking about just now, such a big mosquito bit my neck. You actually peeked. I care about you, and that's fair and square. I think you should go back and apply toilet water on your neck. What will others think if you leave a red mark on your neck? Lu Yuwang was reminded by An Nuan, so he let go of her ears, touched his neck and went home first, while greeting An Nuan, come back quickly and explain clearly. After taking 2 steps, Lu Yuwang stopped and looked at An Nuan sternly. How do you know what others will think if you leave a red mark? An Nuan was helpless. I'm not a 3-year-old child, don't I understand anything? This is commonly known as growing strawberries, and it will grow if you kiss your neck hard. At such a young age. At a young age. Lu Yuwang's cheeks were blushing, only slightly lighter than her lips. Lu Chang'an finished his orange juice at the end of the bridge and jumped off the river bank below from the highest point in the middle of the bridge. It was only 20 or 30 meters away, and he had almost no feeling in the soles of his feet and landed firmly. An old man with white hair in a wheelchair looked at Lu Chang'an blankly, and then looked at the top of his head. I jumped from the top. Lu Chang'an gave him a definite answer, lest he think that he was old-sighted and suffer more sorrow. Bailong Center is better. Lu Chang'an raised his head and looked into the distance, but he would not do this again in a short time. He faced the river wind all the way and walked on the landscape avenue. The water waves lapped the shore with a low rhythm. It made people feel calm. Lu Chang'an came to the statue of the great man at the south end of Zhangzhou. He looked at the tall statue with a base of 3,500 square meters and composed of 8,000 pieces of granite, and pushed hard. Didn't move. What are you doing? The administrator has seen people who come to burn incense, some who want to buckle granite, some who come to ask for children and marriage, and some who come to climb. This is the first time I see someone pushing hard there. This could be a psychopath. I'll try to see how strong I am. It's really crazy. Lu Chang'an clapped his hands and did not feel frustrated. The fact that manpower is sometimes poor shows the current situation. By the end of October, the oranges on Zhangzhou were ripe one by one. Lu Chang'an walked through the orange grove and sat quietly in the square in front of the statue. In the autumn, when flowers are harvested, at night in Xiaoxiang, the beautiful scenery of Zhezhou is like a painting on the screen. In the green smoke, under the bright moon, the boat is just beginning to fish. The water is the hometown, the vegetation is abundant, and fish, soup, rice are common meals. The scenic spot was closed at night. Lu Chang'an left with the tourists and walked to the bridge. Along the busy street, he bought a pot of green plum wine at the intersection of Taiping Street. It was a bit sour and had a harsh taste. Exiting Taiping Street is Junqia's famous bar street. In the early years, there were many fish turning their white bellies on the street, but the smell of drunkenness was unpleasant. A young man with curly hair, thick eyebrows, and thick lips was setting up a mutton barbecue stall. Lu Chang'an ordered 2 skewers of lamb liver, but offered to grill them himself. Just when the business was not yet booming, the young man agreed. Lu Chang'an was done grilling, but before he even put it in his mouth, he mouth-watering. As soon as he got home, he received a call from Qin Yinan, asking him what his plans were for tomorrow. Lu Chang'an hesitated and asked her to come over early. Qin Yinan arrived earlier than Lu Chang'an expected. This was the first time someone knocked on Lu Chang'an's door before he woke up. Not even Zhou Dongdong had done so early. The temperature has dropped slightly today and it was a bit cold in the morning. Qin Yinan looked at Lu Chang'an, who was wearing a vest and large pants. He crossed his arms, but there were no goosebumps on his skin. Old people actually hope to be reunited during festivals, especially the Dragon Boat Festival. Once or less Lu Chang'an looked at Qin Yinan. If you really don't want to stay in Junqia and insist on running back, what else can he do to you? Actually, I'm still very happy. I found that you really don't want to see me. Qinyanan was sure again, and of course she would be happier. I don't dare to disobey him. At least I won't talk about it until after you write the letter, and he gives up the idea. I'm not unwilling to see you. I like you very much, even more than you thought. I'm very happy to see you. Lu Chang'an turned around and said, you can sit on a small bench outside and I will write the letter. You can rest assured, I'll wash up first. There was a sense of relief in his tone that an old man would feel when meeting his old descendants. Qinyanan had heard this tone many times. Qinyanan looked left and right, and finally found a small bench that was probably made of bamboo slices next to the jar. It had a simple and elegant feel. She looked carefully for the first time and found that Lu Chang'an's residence was not only a little smaller, but also there is a sense of comfort and tranquility. A window the size of a wash basin is covered with white window grills. It is extremely complicated and seems to be a landscape painting with hidden poetry. The wall under the window is coated with mud, and some green ivy is crawling there. There are traces of water drawn under the corner, and there are all kinds of bottles and jars that look like they were picked up casually. There are small flowers and grass in the jars, but they are just roads. There are common varieties on the edge, and they are really beautiful when crowded together. It makes people feel that this should be the residence of an elderly, leisurely, and comfortable old man. Lu Chang'an came out of the shower and asked, would you like to go for a run? Qinyanan is wearing a white button-up gown today. Her hair is tied loosely into a bun on the back of her head. There are a few strands of hair falling like rippling vines around her ears. The trembling hangings on her earlobes are naturally made of flowers. Her slender neck is tightly surrounded by a collar, and she wears a pair of flat running shoes. There may not be any matching problems. She is probably good looking and has a good figure, so there is no problem with whatever she wears. I rarely exercise and I won't run anymore. Qinyanan waved his hands repeatedly while paying attention to Lu Chang'an's eyes to see if there was any hint of male disappointment or knowing teasing. Oh, I understand. You can only do less intense exercises with a smaller range of movements. Lu Chang'an nodded, turned around and walked back to the room. It seemed like he was just describing objective facts, without any sense of irritating banter, but it made Qinyanan's face look as white as pink and full of vitality. I had a dream last night about my great-grandmother. People say that people they meet in dreams have no faces in retrospect. However, when Qinyanan woke up, she clearly remembered that Yesijan's appearance was no different from that in the photo. She was elegant and demure, with a bright eyebrow. As if holding a grudge, all I could remember in the dream was that my great-grandmother was calling out a name, which was probably the man who had a close relationship with my great-grandmother. Qinyanan had never dreamed of Yesijan before. After all, her great-grandmother had passed away before liberation. All she had heard about were the heroic deeds described in textbooks, and she felt more admiration for her than the affectionate affection she had for her great-grandfather. Such a dream made Qinyanan understand it as a dream. Although as a materialist who believed in Marxism, he should not believe in the feudal superstition of dreams, but it still affected Qinyanan's mood, so he came to see Lu Chang'an early in the morning. She kind of wanted to tell Lu Chang'an her dream, because Lu Chang'an always talked about her great-grandmother, or could he have some other explanation for such a dream? Hello everyone, I wish you all the best as usual and thank you for your generous rewards. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 46. Qinyanan smelled a familiar aroma. There is no doubt that only the most authentic Qin family noodles with lard and chopped green onion have such an identical aroma. Lu Chang'an brought out 2 bowls of lard noodles, took a small bamboo stool and sat at the door with Qinyanan to eat. Why did you do this? Qinyanan was a little surprised. The relationship between Lu Chang'an and her family seemed to be as he said, closer than she imagined. Your great-grandmother's favorite was this noodle. Your great-grandfather also loved it? What I make is the most authentic. Lu Chang'an had already started eating. This noodle sounds simple, but in fact, the preparation of lard sauce is very particular, and most people just grab some lard and fry the ginger and garlic when they want to eat. The taste is still a little different, and the noodles that go with it are different. The taste is also different. Holding this bowl of scallion and lard noodles, it feels like they are made at home. Did your great-grandfather teach you this? Qin Yinan asked tentatively. In fact, she knew nothing about the elders in Lu Chang'an's family. I taught it to your great-grandfather. Lu Chang'an finished eating, put down his bowl and chopsticks, and looked at Qin Yinan. Qin Yinan recalled that when he first met him, he called himself his great-grandfather's old friend. Is this kind of joke that doesn't respect the elders very interesting? There was obvious displeasure in her eyes. Lu Chang'an was too humble. After Qin Yinan finished eating the noodles, Lu Chang'an went to wash the dishes. Can I come in and have a look? The small design outside the house made Qin Yinan want to see Lu Chang'an's room. Hearing Lu Chang'an's response, he walked in. There was nothing special about his room. It was ordinary. It was no different from the temporary residence of many people. It was not decorated with any special care. There were just many books stacked on the desk against the wall. Like mountains. There is a piece of white paper on the desk, with the 4 words Zi Ching my brother written on it. Ziking is Qin Peng's name. Of course Qin Yinan knows that, but who can write to Qin Peng using a word like my brother that is obviously an elder brother's? Not to mention things like status and status. At this age, people older than Qin Peng are interested in setting the Guinness World Record for longevity, and there are not many people in the world. Lu Chang'an said that he could edit a letter, and Qin Yinan thought that the Zi Ching on the paper was his great-grandfather, but when he thought about it, it was obviously impossible. No matter how young or old Lu Chang'an was, it was impossible for him to call Qin Peng like this. Qin Yinan put down the white paper and couldn't help but ask, did you write this? This. Lu Chang'an nodded, this was written by my great-grandfather. Qin Yinan was very surprised that Lu Chang'an's great-grandfather was also built here, but where was the person? This kind of figure who is a legend while he is alive, disappears without a trace and then appears quietly? Bang! The door was tapped heavily, a hand stretched out from the morning light, hooked the middle finger, and then lazily put it down, and the figure turned around, leaving only a long shadow. Lu Chang'an walked out, Qin Yinan followed him. There were 6 people standing outside. The leader was Ma Benwei. His cheeks were still a little swollen and his hair was messy, but he had changed into a handsome suit and shiny leather shoes. He was holding a baseball bat in his hand. The 5 people behind him were not holding it. What kind of murder weapon? Wearing a vest in this cool morning, the muscles all over his body are bulging, and he is very imposing. Hey, man, you really don't lack beauties. After all, mature women have a more direct and sultry charm. Those graceful curves are seductive, and the charm between the eyebrows still overflows in the slightly unhappy expression. Ma Shilong, when I saw An Nuan for the first time, I was so surprised that I controlled myself. However, I had planned to let myself go today. Seeing a woman like Qin Yinan, I couldn't help but feel that today's program should have more content. Who are these people? Qin Yinan asked, as it seemed that they were not good people. Warrior. Warrior, Ma Benwei laughed playfully, there's no point in flattering me now. I was very happy with your live broadcast yesterday, do I want to do another live broadcast for you today? Ma Benwei was just talking. Yesterday, someone privately messaged him Lu Chang'an's home address. He had already planned it. He couldn't go to the attached middle school to block people. Once someone took a video of the beating, it would involve students being beaten at the school gate. It is very difficult to deal with the video after it spreads. It is still very clear that Ma Benwei is the anchor. As for beating people live, that is even more stupid. Get out now, Qin Yanan said in disgust. As for how Lu Chang'an got into trouble with these people, she didn't want to ask, but if Lu Chang'an was beaten in front of her, she couldn't explain it to her great-grandfather. My little beauty is really hot-tempered. Don't be impatient. I'll take care of him first. I'll take you out to play and start a live broadcast later. With your face, you will definitely become an internet celebrity. Ma Benwei still spoke from the bottom of his heart. He loves the live broadcasting career, and he plans to become the #1 brother in the live broadcasting industry. If he has a woman like this to help him, it will be even more powerful. Even if he can only use it once or twice to gain attention, it is also a demonstration of his Ma Benwei's ability in the live broadcast room. After all, none of the girls that other anchors have found to increase their popularity can compare to this one, in terms of figure, appearance, and temperament. Qin Yanan sneered and was about to take action. How could Qin Peng's great-granddaughter really be powerless? But when he saw Lu Chang'an beside him, he suddenly frowned, snatched Ma Benwei's baseball bat, and hit Ma Benwei's head quickly and accurately with one move of his arm. He then used the stick in various directions to return those few. The helpers who didn't react were knocked down one by one with a stick. Qin Yanan was dumbfounded. Lu Chang'an's movements were indescribably beautiful and smooth, as if the other party had slowed down his reaction ability and cooperated with him to act cool. Several people fell to the ground at the same time in an instant, including Ma Benwei. He said, just because of your face looks so much like Yesijin. I don't like others using this face to say vulgar and obscene things, Lu Chang'an explained to Qin Yanan. Qin Yanan felt extremely strange when he heard this reason. Where did he get such protective feelings for her great-grandmother? It's just that he is defending her most respected elder after all. Qin Yanan hopes from the bottom of her heart that she can become a woman like Yesijin, so although Qin Yanan is hard to understand his defense, she is willing to accept it. I was going to take action, just find any reason, Lu Chang'an added. Qin Yanan feels more and more that his little cousin is really unique, knowledgeable, and talented, and he is particularly good at fighting. What Lu Chang'an's clean and agile skills lack is just the power to kill with one blow, otherwise it is enough. He has become a guard at the level of his great-grandfather, of course, just talking about skills, and just skills are not enough. From this point of view, although he and he are not suitable, Zhu Huntang, if Zhu Huntang can get to know him, he may not like him. It's just that he has a girl he likes. The woman's intuition told Qin Yanan that among the girls she met in the attached middle school that day, the one named An Nuan had a better relationship with Lu Chang'an. The look in An Nuan's eyes at the dinner table was mostly related to Lu Chang'an. That girl is good looking, but she will enter college after graduating from high school. The green campus romance is probably just the end of the pain of growing up. I don't want to force the couple to break up, but just introduce Lu Chang'an and Zhu Huntang to get to know each other. As for the future, of course, Qin Yanan will not interfere in how it develops. All kinds of requests. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 47. Qin Yanan held her mobile phone and was about to find Zhu Huntang's photo to show to Lu Chang'an when a little girl running in, waving her hands left and right and jumping up and down. Zhou Dongdong walked up to Lu Chang'an, raised the soy milk high, and said, "Brother Chang'an, there are 4 bad guys running away outside the door." "Isn't it 6? Qin Yanan was surprised. "The remaining 2 won't be beaten by Lu Chang'an, right?" Thinking of this, Qin Yanan quickly went out and took a look. There was no one left. Why did she say there were only 4 running away? Her name is Zhou Dongdong. She is a stupid child. She can't count after 5, Lu Chang'an said to Qin Yanan. The teacher didn't teach you. Zhou Dongdong shook his head disapprovingly. Qin Yanan couldn't help laughing, smiled, and shook her head, only to find Zhou Dongdong leaning against the door panel and staring at her belly. When Qin Yanan noticed it, he turned his eyes away. "Would you like some soy milk?" Lu Chang'an asked Qin Yanan while holding the soy milk sent by Zhou Dongdong. Qin Yanan waved his hand. "Sister, you need to drink more soy milk so that the baby in your belly can grow up sooner," Zhou Dongdong said with concern. "I don't have a baby, and my sister doesn't have a baby," Qin Yanan said a little embarrassed. "Why do you think my sister has a baby in her belly?" Qin Yanan is very confident about her figure. Zhou Dongdong wouldn't think that there is a baby inside when he sees her big belly, right? "Sister, if a boy sleeps with a girl, there will be a baby," Zhou Dongdong explained earnestly, not even understanding this. Qin Yanan was embarrassed and pushed Lu Chang'an, who was drinking soy milk seriously and seemed not to hear at all. "If you want to call me aunt, if you are about the same age as your mother, you should call me aunt." Lu Chang'an shook his head and patted Zhou Dongdong on the head. "You are such an adult and you don't know how to call people, so I will call you stupid in the future. Kid, don't deny it. You are the one. You are the one. You are the one. What is 5 plus 5? How could I know? Look at you. You are. You are. You are." Qin Yanan looked at Lu Chang'an, who was quarreling with Zhou Dongdong expressionlessly. "If Zhou Dongdong is a stupid child, you really look very smart." After Zhou Dongdong returned, Lu Chang'an took out the realgar wine to dry in the sun, and then took out the glutinous rice and rice dumpling leaves that had been soaked overnight to make rice dumplings with meat fillings. Zone leaves include reed leaves and bamboo leaves. Ruo bamboo leaves are commonly used in the south. Ruo bamboo is very common in the south, especially in rural areas. In the past, every household would grow some and wait until the Dragon Boat Festival to make rice dumplings for their own use. "Help me make rice dumplings. I can only wrap triangular ones." "Anything is fine, I'll wrap the horns." Qin Yanan and Lu Chang'an were sitting on the bench making rice dumplings. After breakfast, Zhou Dongdong came down again to cause trouble, but was soon taken out of the stall by her mother. Qin Yanan found that Lu Chang'an was very popular. From time to time, there would be an old man or lady standing looking at him from a distance. There would also be 2 or 3 people standing together and pointing. Someone who was not so nosy would come over and ask Lu Chang'an to play mahjong in the evening. Or running a beard or something. Qin Yanan had a lot of things in her heart that she wanted to ask him, but looking at the way he concentrated on making rice dumplings, she still felt the age gap. If a young man of the same age was with Qin Yanan, he would not be able to look away at all, at least between her eyebrows. You can notice clearly the look in his eyes. "Where is your great-grandfather?" Qin Yanan still couldn't help but ask the most critical question. Lu Chang'an looked up at Qin Yanan, said nothing, and continued making rice dumplings. Qin Yanan pursed her lips and said if she didn't want to say it, she clapped her hands and walked aside to make a phone call. "Brother Wen, I will send you a location later. Please help me check." Around 6:30 in the morning, 6 people came to trouble a cousin of mine. They left around 6:40. There are no cameras in the community, but there must be ones on the surrounding streets. As long as they don't come here on foot, they should be able to find out who they are. I'm so brave. The other party was obviously taken aback. Trouble. Qin Yanan didn't bother to ask Lu Chang'an. After contacting him a few times, he decided to ask him directly about this matter. It was estimated that he was either unwilling to tell him or simply didn't know anything about it. After Qin Yanan finished the phone call, she sat back and continued making triangular rice dumplings. "Do you know how I cooked rice dumplings before?" Lu Chang'an took the initiative to talk to her. "How to cook it? First dig a hole in the ground, put animal skins in the hole, pour water into the hole, then throw the hot stones into the water, and the water will slowly boil, then throw the rice dumplings in and simmer." "Little cousin, are you a primitive man?" Lu Chang'an laughed. When he said this to Qin Peng also questioned whether he was a primitive man. Of course, Qin Peng no longer questioned it later. I had a dream last night about my great-grandmother Qin Yan and paid attention to Lu Chang'an's expression. Then she kept calling a name, but I don't remember what she called. Now that I think about it carefully, I feel like it was me in the dream, and I can't tell the difference. Lu Chang'an stopped moving his hands and looked carefully into Qin Yan's eyes. Staring at him, she felt that his eyes were as deep as the night, and she couldn't help but be attracted to them. It was difficult to take her eyes away. Qin Yan felt a little uncomfortable and turned her head unnaturally, but was pinched by his fingers. Jaw. Qin Yan felt that he was a little abrupt and wanted to be angry, but his serious expression seemed to blame her for not cooperating with him, so Qin Yan stopped moving, but her pupils trembled in her eye sockets, and she gradually felt her cheeks turn slightly red, and her mind was in chaos. Some inexplicable emotions are surging like koi fish in a pond scrambling for food. You were upset and confused a while ago. As soon as you relaxed for a while, your mind was unstable at night, and the obsessions left by some predecessors affected your dreams, Lu Chang'an explained. You mean my great-grandmother is entrusting me with dreams? Qin Yan thought the same way. Dream, Lu Chang'an smiled. That's okay, Mr. Lu passed away a while ago. His daughter said that Mr. Lu delayed his dreams for several times, saying that he had no shoes to wear there and his feet were cold. His daughter went to buy them. The shoes were burned, and I never had such a dream again. The explanation for such a thing is very simple, that is, Mr. Lu wanted a new pair of shoes before his death, and his daughter knew about it, but for various reasons, she did not have time to buy them for him. After he passed away, even if he didn't think about it normally, the feeling of guilt for not buying Mr. Lu's shoes in the dream prompted such a dream. After buying the shoes, he burned them and felt at ease, so he no longer had such dreams. But it's not because Mr. Lu is wearing new shoes. But I don't know what unfulfilled wishes my great-grandmother had. When she passed away, my father was not even born. Although Lu Chang'an was reasonable in explaining other people's matters, he could not explain Qin Yan's situation. That's because you've been thinking a lot about your great-grandmother recently. Do you have some new ideas about your great-grandmother? That's true. I think it's normal for my great-grandmother and your great-grandfather to have a close relationship. But when I read the information and my great-grandfather's silence, I always felt that there were some secrets between the older generation. Qin Yan also said no, there's something wrong about it. Probably the most important thing is the photo. Since it's a secret, let it go with the wind. Lu Chang'an was silent for a moment. In fact, he didn't want to remember some of the things that happened at that time, or he would see Qin Peng again one day and talk about that era when the war was raging. The wind and the moon. Maybe I'll tell Qin Yan one day. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 48. Qin Yan helped Lu Chang'an make rice dumplings all morning, and had rice dumplings for lunch. Before leaving, Lu Chang'an gave her 4 rice dumplings. Qin Yan sent some photos he took to his great-grandfather. Of course, there is no way of knowing when he will see them. Even if he is a close relative, it does not mean that he can disturb Qin Peng anytime and anywhere. Everything must be seen by his health doctor. Arrange. Back at Bailong Center, Qin Yan went to see Zhong Cheng. Because he had to accompany Lu Chang'an during the Dragon Boat Festival, Qin Yan was too lazy to run back and forth, so he stayed at Zhuntang, which was also close to Lu Chang'an. Zhong Cheng took the dog to the river to swim. Of course, the dog was swimming. Zhong Cheng was disgusted by the lewd looks. It could even be said that he was allergic. Sometimes he even felt his skin red and swollen, had difficulty breathing and even vomited. Of course, it's not that these people's eyes are poisonous, it's just a physiological overreaction caused by a psychological condition, which is difficult to treat. There was no way she could appear in an open-air bath or beach in a swimsuit. With her figure, it was almost impossible not to attract looks that made her allergic. This dog seems different from the original one. Chinyanan doesn't like to keep pets, but it can be seen that this dog is stronger. The original one ran away. Chinyanan nodded. After such a fierce dog ran away, almost no one dared to come close to adopt it or take it home to raise as a pet dog. It was probably in a dog meat hotpot restaurant now. Do you want to eat rice dumplings? Chinyanan held up 4 rice dumplings. It's steamed, just heat it up. I don't know what kind of filling is used, but peanuts are added. It tastes not fat or greasy, moderately salty, and quite delicious. I like to eat sweet rice dumplings and fruit rice dumplings, one bite at a time. I can't finish even one of these big rice dumplings. Zhongqing thanked him. Want to go shopping in the afternoon? Chinyanan could have stayed with Lu Chang'an all day, but obviously Lu Chang'an didn't think it was a pleasure for Chinyanan to accompany him, so he saw off the guests after eating the rice dumplings. Chinyanan didn't feel angry, and felt like she was used to it. Maybe this was the tolerance of being a sister. In terms of blood relationship, it is a bit far away, but compared to the status of fiancé, getting along with the little cousin is much more natural. Chinyanan is not opposed to it. Today, he even felt a little like helping the little cousin to stand out, which is very good. Chinyanan, thinking back to what he said that time, strictly speaking, he had no blood relationship with anyone. What nonsense was this? I had to arrange some things for the third wife to come over. This morning I suddenly received a call from the secretariat, saying that the third wife had decided to come to Juncha at the last minute. Zhongqing shook his head. Okay then, go ahead, and go ahead. I'll take a bath and then take a nap. Chinyanan knew very well that the third wife of the Zhu family was the most particular about them, and Zhongqing was very busy these days. Zhongqing had been studying in Juncha before high school. When he was in high school, his mother married a member of the Zhu family, so Zhongqing also went to Taiwan to study. When he was in college, he was trained as Zhu Huntang's assistant. Actually, Zhu Huntang didn't have many things for Zhongqing to do, but the third wife sent Zhongqing more. Chinyanan returned to the room, stood in front of the window and looked out, only to realize that from the air, this place was quite close to Lu Chang'an's community. Chinyanan brought the binoculars from Zhu Huntang's room, and was just in time to see Lu Chang'an move out the recliner and hold the big fan lay there for a nap. There is no way to see the face clearly, but we can only tell that it is him. There is a customized Zeiss 1700mm lens and matching camera in Zhu Huntang's room, but the lens alone weighs 500 kilograms, even if it is equipped with an electric base for easy movement. Chinyanan was not so bored and moved over to spy on Lu Chang'an. In Zhu Huntang's room, the angle was wrong. After closing the curtains in the whole room, it became dark and the lights gradually turned on. Chinyanan went to the dressing room and found a pink brocade cheongsam to try on. However, like many clothes that Chinyanan liked, it felt completely different when she wore it. It also looked like a sexy costume. Chinyanan frowned and sighed. They all said that she looked like her great-grandmother, but why did her great-grandmother look so good in a cheongsam? Quiet and elegant, as calm as bamboo, no one would look at my great-grandmother with the same eyes as hers, right? Chinyanan usually can only wear breast tattoos that have no lifting ability, or simply wear nipple pasties and a small vest. Any possibility of increasing the bust must be ruled out. Let's try to customize a cheongsam of the same color and style that their great-grandmother wore in the photo some other time. Chinyanan suddenly felt a strong expectation in his heart. He had an urge to let Lu Chang'an meet the real Yesijin. Maybe he could understand his unreasonable love for his great-grandmother. What is the closeness and maintenance of? After Chinyanan took a shower, she stopped taking a nap, changed her clothes directly, and went to the tailor shop. Her mother worked with her father in Juncha, so it was easy to find the cheongsam maker with the highest level in Juncha. Lu Chang'an took a lunch break and took away the assassination of the Knight Commander that he used to cover his face. The Japanese version he read, many of Haruki Murakami's translations always revealed a sour taste between the lines, which Lu Chang'an didn't like so much. You have to know the Chinese version. The emotional contagion is too strong, so many translations of other languages will appear to have been reprocessed. In this lazy afternoon, with the lonely sycamore branches, the helpless howling wind, and the creaking sound of the deck chair, Lu Chang'an yawned and shook the cattail leaf fan. He wanted to recite a poem to express his feelings, but his cell phone rang and he gave up. The idea of reciting poems makes me wonder if all the brothers in the textbooks also had mobile phones to play with at that time. I am afraid that their talents may be displayed on Weibo, Taiba, Zhihu and other places and are filled with nonsense. Dragon Boat Festival. My mother and I took the morning flight and have now arrived in Sanya. Are you looking at your circle of friends and thinking that the Dragon Boat Festival can only be healthy but not happy? Many articles in Moments can help people increase their knowledge. The Book of Rites says, joy is used to welcome people, sorrow is sent away, so there is joy but there is no joy. This refers to summer sacrifices, which can be joyful. Why are there suddenly a swarm of people talking about health? It's really uneducated. Are you hurting me? No, is Sanya fun? Going out for the Dragon Boat Festival is a bit tight. Lu Chang'an quickly changed the subject. Haha, it's okay. It's mainly because my mother wants to buy some skincare products and cosmetics for me. The duty-free shop here is cheaper and I can save points. Your mother doesn't need it? My mother rarely uses it. Her skin is very good. She only uses some skincare products and very little cosmetics. After a while, Lu Chang'an stood up with a smile, found An Nuan's Happy Dragon Boat Festival message and sent it back. I just got up from a nap. You feel comfortable? My mother and I went straight to the duty-free shop as soon as we got off the plane. We have been shopping here all day. She used all my duty-free allowance to buy skincare products and cosmetics. She just gave me a lipstick, or, she picked out the one she disliked the most from YSL's gift bag, which made me mad. Pay attention to rest and relax. Your mother probably wants you to empty your mind and get into the best condition before the college entrance examination. I think she's just rejuvenated. You can't really be dating her online, can you? Without. Come back and show me your phone. Lu Chang'an doesn't reply to messages. Do you understand your privacy rights? Really, why does the little girl like to check other people's mobile phones so much? All kinds of requests. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 49. Lu Chang'an drank water and rinsed his mouth to clear his turbid air. He planned to go to the second-hand bookstore as planned, either just to read, or to find a few books and get something back, but he saw that his head was wrapped in white. Ma Benwei, who was wearing gauze, took the 5 people from the morning to the sycamore tree again and stood in front of Lu Chang'an. Brother Lu, I'm sorry. We have blind eyes and look down upon others. The 6 people bowed in unison, very neatly. No need to apologize. You offended my sister, and I gave you a good beating. It's all even. Lu Chang'an is a very reasonable person, and he will never be unreasonable. Is that his sister? Ma Benwei took a peek at Lu Chang'an. If he hadn't known that this guy was a student from the high school affiliated to the middle school, looking at his big pants and torn vest, it would have been hard to tell his age. But Ma Benwei already knew the guy he was trying to recruit to become an internet celebrity today. What is the identity of the young woman? Now Ma Benwei is only glad that Lu Chang'an knocked down everyone on his side with a stick. If he really did something to the young woman, he is afraid that the Ma family, which has a strong foundation in the county, will he is about to be uprooted. His father, who is full of ambitions and promising career prospects, and his high-spirited brother, who is about to ring the Nasdaq bell, will be completely ruined because of his recklessness. Little did he know that the sister Lu Chang'an was talking about was not the same person as he thought. We will surrender in a moment and will be detained for 15 days. This is a little thought on my part, please accept it. Ma Benwei doesn't believe that it is really even. Whoever believes in it is a fool. Ma Benwei still has this consciousness. Ma Benwei handed over an envelope. No need. Lu Chang'an refused and thought for a moment, if I don't accept it, will you feel uneasy? Ma Benwei laughed sarcastically, of course. If you don't accept it, doesn't it mean that you don't want to finish it like this? Let's do this. From now on, you can give me a hen or a cock every day. Just give it to me for a month. Lu Chang'an smiled and said, the focus is on Qin Yanan's place. I will tell her that you came to talk to me. Sorry, as for her, you don't need to provoke her. After saying that, Lu Chang'an ignored them, locked the door, and left with a swing of the cattail leaf fan. There were a lot of mosquitoes at night. Although mosquitoes couldn't penetrate his skin at all, he was indeed more attracted to mosquitoes. This almost brainless little animal has a sense of smell as sharp as a vampire's for the smell of blood. Watching Lu Chang'an leave, Ma Benwei and the others stood there and looked at each other. Is it really enough to give him a pullet every day from now on? What does he need so many chickens for? Keep your mouth clean, Ma Benwei slapped him. Brother Ma, do you really want to go to that little girl? Then my father has to come forward. How am I qualified to apologize to others? Can I get an appointment? Should I go to number 1 courtyard to block the door? Ma Benwei was very depressed. He has been a local snake for a long time, and it feels really uncomfortable to bow his head when encountering a strong dragon. This relative of Lu Chang'an is so awesome, why do I live in this shabby doghouse? Maybe it's an illegitimate child. After Ma Benwei finished speaking, he gave himself a slap in the face. It's just his bad mouth that got him into trouble, and he still doesn't have a long memory. Ma Benwei waved his hand, let's go to the bureau and surrender first. If we can't live broadcast for 15 days, how angry is this person? It feels cold. Lu Chang'an shook his big cattail leaf fan and walked slowly along the street to a familiar bookstore. After taking a nap, there were many old people dressed like him in the streets and alleys. He came to a familiar bookstore that he had not been to for a while. In the bookstore, Lu Chang'an greeted the boss as usual, Old Lan, business is good. Boss Lan adjusted his reading glasses and slowly turned his head. He heard that the voice was young. He took a closer look and spat, younger, no matter how big or small. Lu Chang'an walked around the small bookstore. It was difficult to smell the fragrance of books in a second-hand bookstore, but there was always an unavoidable smell of stale bad luck. The bookcases on 3 sides were filled with all kinds of old books and books without any classification. Old books probably have no collection value, they are just cheap. However, cheapness is the most important thing for most people. Lu Chang'an flipped through a few books, looked around, and came to the counter. Boss Lan, have all the books that Professor Lu stored here been sold? Perhaps because he heard Lu Chang'an change his title, Boss Lan raised his head again and looked at Lu Chang'an carefully for a while, holding his eyes. Yes, where did you know Professor Lu? Professor Lu won the first Young and Middle-Aged Science Fund of Southern Hunan Province in 1995. In 1996, he was selected as the leader of the cross-century science and technology discipline in Southern Hunan. In 1997, he became a national candidate for the National Hundreds and Thousands of Talents Project. In 1998, he enjoyed the special allowance of the State Council. For such an outstanding talent, I know it's strange, Lu Chang'an asked. What about 1999? Boss Lan looked at Lu Chang'an with squinted eyes. Let's not talk about it if it's not honorable, Lu Chang'an said matter-of-factly. In 1999, it was said that Professor Lu got pregnant with a student. When the scandal broke out and there was a crackdown on academic corruption, he was miserable. But before this incident, he had deposited some books with me, as if they were entrusted to him for his funeral. Same thing, I always feel like there's something fishy about this. Boss Lan fumbled his gray beard on his chin. What do you think? You still believe in his character? I trust my own vision. It's all in the past. If you want to sell them all, forget it. If you still want to keep them, just give them to me. I'm his son, Lu Chang'an said without blushing. There are few people in this world who can do it themselves. Pretending to be his own son. How do you prove that you are his son? Boss Lan stretched out his hand. Where is the household registration book? He didn't say that he would prove that I am his son when he comes to find you. All he needs to do is tell you a poem, immortal touches my head, and I will marry my hair and live forever. Then I will ask you to get the old book, Lu Chang'an pointed out, pointing to Boss Ian's bookstore. It's okay, if it doesn't work, I'll pick out a few books, and you just don't rip off people like you always do. Boss Lan took off his reading glasses, showed a hint of smile at the corner of his mouth, and nodded with a smile. Lu Chang'an also smiled. Boss Lan walked slowly to the back room, fetched a ladder, refused Lu Chang'an's help, and climbed up step by step with his legs dangling by the side of the bookcase. Then he pulled down a layer of woven fabric covered with gray and coughed. After making a few noises, he wiped the dust off his head, grabbed the handle of an exposed rattan bookcase, and pulled it down with great effort, letting Lu Chang'an take over. I haven't seen him for many years. If you have time, let him come and have a cup of tea. Boss Lan came down and packed up the ladder. He died. Boss Lan nodded, closed his cloudy eyes, and slowly walked back to where he was sitting without saying a word. The setting sun shone in. It was the favorite scene of humanistic photographers. The old man seemed to be able to see life passing by. In fact, Boss Lan is not that old. His wife looks young. Wearing a white gauze skirt, she still looks like a MILF. When she walked out of the back room, she saw Lu Chang'an carrying the dead ghost who had kept it there for so many years. The box that no one could touch showed some surprise. Professor Lu is dead, this is his son, Boss Lan said with narrowed eyes. The proprietress winked her eyes instantly, showing a sad look, and sighed, it's been almost 20 years, how come this person is gone? As she spoke, the landlady stretched out her hand to touch Lu Chang'an's face, but Lu Chang'an quickly avoided it. Look, this young man is still shy, the landlady laughed sarcastically. Boss Lan snorted coldly and ignored it. I'll leave now, see you later, Lu Chang'an said to Boss Lan. I'd better go to Beisha Park to play chess when I have time. I'm pretty good at it. Boss Lan nodded, waved his hand, and glanced at the dark and dirty wooden box under the counter, which contained a chess set that had not been taken out for many years. All kinds of requests. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Liankui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 50. Lu Chang'an went home carrying the rattan bookcase, but he didn't buy the book he liked. Boss Lan was becoming less and less interested in running the store. A large part of the books had been placed on his bookshelf 20 years ago. Time seems to be frozen on those old but still sturdy bookshelves, stagnant. A long time ago, the rattan bookcase was golden in color and was polished with tung oil. Over the years, the color has become slightly smoked, giving it a more collection-like feel. The calfskin handle, in particular, has a much more wonderful texture. Old boxes always contain time and memories. Lu Chang'an's memory, like most people's, is broken and settled in the bottom of his heart. It seems that he has forgotten it but can surge up at the right time, emitting a sigh. It's just that he has so many memories, buried layer by layer, like the sauce on pancakes, smeared over and over, mixed together with a variety of flavors. He has long known that he cannot remember everything clearly, and must even forget many things. Otherwise, even if his body evolves to close to the limit of growth, the strength of his spirit and soul, that is, dominated by the brain, this part may not be able to withstand the accumulation of time. It is a pity that the brain has not matched the evolution of the body and has reached the same level beyond human limits. Lu Chang'an wiped the bookcase clean, put it on the bed, and gently pressed the buckle. As the vaguely sticky edge was pulled away, a feeling of time freezing and passing quickly came to his face. Less than 20 years is just a moment when my heart trembles slightly. I picked up a diary and opened it to read. On September 1st, it was very hot. The school gave out cold drink coupons, and I exchanged watermelons with teacher Xiaolin next door. September 2nd, not too hot. Additional note, I played mahjong with a few people in the courtyard the night before yesterday. The freshmen did not attend yesterday's start of term. Today, a student invited me to the dance, and I discovered that there are many cute and beautiful girls among the freshmen of this year. A few old professors who had never had a good reputation looked a little distorted in their excitement. The girl who danced with me had a very thin waist. She was a little nervous at first, but then gradually relaxed. At the end of the performance, she even dared to ask me for my phone number. On September 3rd, Friday, I met a girl while running. Her surname was Yan. She was so pretty. The bangs in front of her forehead were stained with some fine dewdrops, making them light and refreshing. On October 8th, I met the girl named Yan again, and found out that her name was Yan Hui. I accidentally touched her hand while collecting homework, and she actually showed a slightly shy smile. It was really cute. On October 15th, I met Yan Hui again. The person running with her should be her boyfriend, right? A gentleman does not take away from others. Best wishes. On October 20th, Ren Changhong invited me to play cards. He offered me 1,000 and won me 50. I happened to be distracted and didn't expose him. I was very unhappy when I saw his proud look. But in the evening he invited me to drink cold beer, which was really great. Refreshing and refreshing. On April 10th, the school organized a blind date for older young teachers, and even senior female students participated. I was also forced to participate. Su Zhancheng was particularly enthusiastic about this matter, and took me to chat with those female students. See, as the student who used to sit under the podium becomes a blind date, Su Zhancheng will not consider whether I am embarrassed. Of course, I am not embarrassed, but he should consider this. Lu Chang'an smiled while turning the pages until he reached the last page. The font on the last page is different, it is written in cursive script, and there is some emotion between the lines. The results of today's demonstration are very disappointing. I finally decided to give up my long-standing expectations. The human brain is limited by genes to make breakthroughs. Unless we have another year of encounters, we will ultimately be unable to explore the origin of the world and many other mysteries. Human power, sometimes we are poor, and the development and practice of science are not endless. Ren Changhong agrees with me. Darwin's theory of evolution is very interesting, and human evolution is not as shown in the well-known human evolution map, from ancient apes gradually standing upright to modern humans, but mutational growth, genes a small part was directly changed, achieving a leap. Su Zhancheng directly said that virus infection caused some monkeys to mutate, and humans appeared all over the earth at the same time. Ren Changhong believes that human beings can achieve a real scientific explosion only after they are completely freed from the shackles of the body. I disagree. I told him that there are no ghosts and gods in the world, because ghosts and gods only exist outside the world, and the shackles they set up will never allow humans to detach. I couldn't help but laugh when I watched him start to think about religion and demonic doctrines. He seemed to be preparing new research and arguments in an attitude of accepting new doctrines. Su Zhancheng said, "It is still interesting to write science fiction novels. Why do you need to be justified in pursuing fantasy? So what if you know the truth? Anyway, even interstellar travel is impossible to achieve in my lifetime. I think I can wait for that day to come. Interstellar travel is very interesting. First of all, I want to see the far side of the moon. Su Zhancheng is really decadent. He is barely a top physicist, but he is obsessed with writing science fiction novels in exchange for magazine royalties. That's all. I'm tired of it. It's time to change my life. It's more interesting when I was a student. If I can meet, it's great to have a beautiful classmate like Yan Hui. What the hell happened to me? It doesn't matter. There are some things that Lu Chang'an has been thinking about for many years and has gained nothing. The entire human race has also been thinking about them for many years and has gained nothing. Looking through his previous diaries and notes, it was already dark before he knew it. Lu Chang'an took back his book box not just for emotion, he just wanted to find if there were any clues in it that could be used to analyze the phenomenon of the bronze coffin. Or maybe it can give him some hope again. How do other abnormal human phenomena appear if they are different from what monkeys experience? The things in the bronze coffin are definitely not dead. Lu Chang'an can be sure of this. Fortunately, from now on, someone will send little hens or little roosters every day, and after absorbing a lot of life, it may not take too long to make them alive. Lu Chang'an saw the scene he was looking forward to. Lu Chang'an ate a lot of rice dumplings in the evening, so he couldn't waste them. The previous method was to soak the cooked rice dumplings in water to preserve them, but now they basically use the refrigerator. Lu Chang'an's small refrigerator has a small capacity, so he has to eat them quickly. Okay. Zhou Dongdong brought a basket of red bean paste rice dumplings to Lu Chang'an, and Lu Chang'an returned the favor by mentioning meat rice dumplings. Zhou Dongdong and Lu Chang'an chatted for a while about the new things they encountered today, then went home, and asked Lu Chang'an to dig out the little mother tomorrow. Wait for her to come with the chicken. Lu Chang'an took up his pen and finished writing the letter to Qin Peng, sealed it in a cylinder, and was still preparing to send it out tomorrow morning. Received a call from Bai Hui and asked him to visit his classmates. Everyone had already discussed the Yangui Lake barbecue event tomorrow to see if he would participate. Lu Chang'an thought for a while, and it happened that someone would send pullets tomorrow, so the centipedes attracted by the buried pullets would not have to be put in the carriage. They couldn't waste them. They happened to bring them to a barbecue event, so he agreed. Early the next morning, Lu Chang'an got up. It turned out to be a foggy day today. There was a river running through the city, and the water vapor was humid. Summer foggy days were also very common. He sat on a small bench in a hazy state, and turned over his old books for a while. Diary, someone sent a hen. It was a big one, not small at all. Lu Chang'an didn't regret it and put it directly into the carriage. Then he dug out the dead hen in the pit and buried it for a longer time. The centipede inside was big and fat. Lu Chang'an put all the centipedes into bottles, then cleaned them and prepared to take them to the barbecue event. The sky and earth are dark and yellow, the universe is primitive, put on the shelves for voting.